Hello, welcome to Denton's Tales of Wonderful Things, and to part 2 of Superstitions. Oh yes, superstitions. The world of the weird, the odd, the unusual, and the downright dumb. The sort of things obviously thought up by those whose one and only brain cell was on vacation at the time. Oh yes, the human capacity for inventing impossible things to then believe in with total conviction is really quite amazing. Now, as I said in part 1, I'm not talking about natural medicine, herbal remedies, many shamanic practices that we do know actually work. No, I'm talking about pure superstition. The don't step on a crack in the sidewalk or you'll bring Satan to your door sort of thing, you know. And we now dive into them head first once again. I hope you enjoy it. Wearing your clothes inside out is said to bring good luck. As well, of course, there's a lot of very surprised stares from anyone you meet, and getting yourself the reputation of being a certified nutjob who should probably seek professional help. If you're having a run of bad luck, you can break the spell by turning around 7 times in a clockwise direction. You should probably do this on a soft surface, just in case you give yourself vertigo and you fall down. And do it in private as well, or you'll find yourself designated as a complete Looney Tune. To avoid bad luck during the day, oh yes, to avoid bad luck during the day, you should always get out of bed on the same side that you got into it. Okay, so my days should be very free of bad luck, full of sunshine and happiness because, well, my bed is up against a wall, which prevents me from making a mistake and leaping out of bed on the wrong side, because if I do, whammo, I go straight into the wall. There you go. Oh, that's amazing. I am so very fortunate in that. However, there is a caveat. Oh yes, there's always a caveat. If your bed lies facing north to south, that brings misfortune. Let me see. That's south. That's north. Oh, well, that's me screwed. But maybe if I don't wear a hat in bed, I'll still be all right, since that would be very unlucky. Oh yes, wearing a hat in bed is very unlucky and stupid. You know, I think trying to sleep while wearing a hat might be a tad uncomfortable. And here's another thing about your bedroom. Never lean a broom against a bed, because if you do, the evil spirits that live in the broom will cast a spell on the bed and you'll never have a decent night's sleep after that. Yeah, well, I mean, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean, we always knew evil spirits lived in broom handles. Well, of course we did. I mean, it was just so obvious. How could we miss it? Quite easily, I should think. Anyway, to make a baseball bat lucky, spit on it. There you go. Lucky bat. Yeah, I don't know if you'll score a home run or become the next Babe Ruth, but you will have a very unhygienic bat. And please, don't hand it to me. If you dream of fish, someone you know is pregnant. Oh yes. And if a cow lifts its tail, that's a sure sign that rain is coming. Actually, it's much more likely the cow is just about to do a poo, but oh well. If you see an ambulance, you should pinch your nose or hold your breath until you see a black or a brown dog. So, bee-ba, oh, where's a black dog when you need one? Perhaps you shouldn't wait too long holding your breath while you're looking for that elusive dog, or you might be riding in an ambulance yourself. If a dog howls, a death is coming. Oh yes. A dog howls and people die. I'm not so sure. You know, I had an American Springer Spaniel, a rescue dog that had been dreadfully treated by its previous owners, cowering, if it saw a stick or a broom handle, and not even worried about the evil spirits in the broom handle. It became very attached to my wife. Now, whenever my wife would walk across the road to talk to the neighbor who lived opposite to us, the dog, Judy was her name, she would sit outside our door with her nose pointed straight up in the air, looking a bit like a coyote, and she would howl constantly. Ow! Ow! like that, only a great deal louder, until my wife returned. Be it for 5 minutes or half an hour, it made no difference. Judy would just howl constantly. Now, if a howl brought a death, that dog would have wiped out the entire population of the Dublin suburb I live in. There would have been bodies all over the place. Dublin 11, fingers east, would have resembled a scene from The Walking Dead. The neighbourhood, however, survived, I'm glad to say, despite Judy's efforts to eliminate all life in Dublin 11, for which we all give thanks. Garlic. Now, garlic is said to be a surefire remedy for vampires, either by eating it or rubbing it on yourself, keeping bad things at bay and preventing them getting close to you. I don't know how true that is, but it is certainly highly efficacious at warding off friends and family members, people you meet in the street or in the pub. They certainly won't get very close to you. And it's guaranteed to repel anyone with intimate romantic thoughts on their mind. Come with me to the Casbah, my darling, where I shall show you a night of nerd. Yes. As a contraceptive, it's excellent. Eat it or rub it on yourself, and nothing is going to happen. Oh, no. To digress for a moment. Funny story time. There is a funny story about a woman who was terrified of vampires. So in her bedroom she had every religious anti-vampire object you could think of. Relics of saints, the Sacred Heart, the Child of Prague, holy water, buckets of holy water all over the place, rosary beads, and garlic festooned around the bed. Suddenly, a bat came flapping in through the open window. Like the bats in the old Bela Lugosi movies, flapping in slow, obviously rubber motion. Yes, bats do that, don't they? And poof, there stood a vampire. Evening dress, opera cape, slicked down hair, the works. But the woman wasn't afraid. No, she held up a crucifix. She threw holy water at the vampire. She pointed to the statues, the garlic. But the vampire looked at her, and he said, "Oiga, well, lady, have you got the wrong vampire? And where I comes from, we put garlic in everything." Yes, I like that one. Now, cats. Cats are very lucky, or so it's claimed. I mean, they have 9 lives, and that's pretty lucky. Well, I rather doubt that from personal experience. Now, I had a kitten many years ago, and I didn't notice it come up behind me. Now, this particular kitten had not died 8 times previously. It hadn't even done it once, obviously, I suppose. But when I stepped back and accidentally stood on it, well, let's just say it didn't seem to have a stock of spare lives. I'm sorry to say. It just sort of lay there, and it was very definitely the opposite of alive even once. Just forget the other 8. So I'm somewhat skeptical as to that superstition. So was the late kitten. If you want to be smart, and I mean really smart, oh yes, I mean get up there alongside Albert Einstein or Stephen Hawking, eat fish. Yes. Now, I can't honestly say I ever felt even a tiny bit smarter when I ate fish, and I've known people who ate a lot of fish who would have added 2 and 2 and come up with 5. But so the superstition goes, and who am I to question it? Well, I am questioning it, but anyway, not to worry. A beginner always has good luck. Beginner's luck. Quite where that one comes from is rather hard to understand, since simple logic dictates that failure is far more likely to happen to the inexperienced person, the one doing something for the first time. Well, now if you draw a circle on the ground and you stand in that circle, evil spirits can't harm you. No, excellent. So you just get into your circle and you make rude gestures at those evil spirits. Ha ha! I'm in a circle, so ha! You can't get me. Nah, 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 nah. In my circle, you can't get me. Ha ha! Of course, they may just sit there and wait till you have to pee and you can't hold it in any longer. Or if you thwart them by just peeing where you're standing, they wait a bit longer till you fall asleep and then you roll out of the circle, or starvation forces you to go out in search of food, and then you're rather screwed, aren't you? What was that you said, human person, about being in a circle? Well, you're not in your little circle now, are you? Oh dear, what a pity. Evil laugh. All the best villains have an evil laugh. In Spain, on New Year's Eve, they have a superstition that eating 12 grapes at midnight will bring 12 months of good luck. Why grapes? Why not, I suppose? I mean, maybe it's because they have a lot of them for the wine industry. An acorn kept on a windowsill is said to prevent lightning from entering your house, though, frankly, I'd put more faith in a lightning conductor rod down into the ground. But acorns, now, acorns had another use in ancient Celtic Britain. Women would carry them in order to remain young-looking. The versatile acorn. Maybe that's where I went wrong. If I'd always had a pocket full of acorns, I might not look like this. Too late now, I'm afraid. In Russia, there's a superstition that bird droppings are very lucky. And if a bird should poo on you or on your property, it means that riches will come your way. And the more birds who decide to decorate you with their lucky offerings, the richer you will become. Sounds like a load of crap to me. Where I used to work, flocks of starlings used to come every year. Now, thousands of them, literally thousands of them. And they'd roost in a small wood beside the car park. And despite every effort to get rid of them, they'd stay there for a week or two before moving on. When they flew, the sky was literally filled with birds, and they would fly to and fro over the car park, gracefully weaving and turning and diving and crapping. Now, starlings poo like no other bird. They seem to have an inexhaustible supply of the stuff. And as they came over the car park, there was like a whitish mist of starling poo descending in their wake. A sort of moving wall of shit that travelled with them, making this plop, 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 plop sound, and the cars had to be hosed off frequently. I remember one woman seeing them coming and knowing she'd never get to the office block in time, ran to the security office, holding an umbrella over her head as poo plopped on it, plop, 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 plop. How lucky those cars and their owners, to say nothing of the woman with the well-pooed umbrella, must have been splattered with all that lucky bird poo. I was so envious of their great good fortune. I was tempted. I was tempted to go out and stand there. Give me your poo, oh ye starlings! Drop your good fortune upon me! But I resisted the temptation. Given the sheer volume of descending poo, no one person could handle that much good fortune. No. So I passed. I passed on that one. Now, here in Ireland, where I live, there are several interesting superstitions, so there are. Sure you wouldn't believe some of them, so you wouldn't. And there's still a lie in that. And here's a few of them for your edification. Like, I'll enjoy these. Now, one is that if you met a funeral going in the opposite direction, you had to turn around and walk with it for a short distance. At least 4 steps were required, or bad luck could result. Another was that only the first funeral in a graveyard could go to heaven on that day. So if you had just been buried and another funeral arrives, well, hard luck for the other chap. You've got your wings, you've ascended aloft, and the other poor sod is going to have to wait and lie there till tomorrow, and he's not going anywhere. I don't live all that far from Glasnevin Cemetery, one of the largest and oldest cemeteries in Dublin, and there could be funerals arriving all day. There might be a dozen of them. So, there must be a backlog of dead people lying around waiting for the next available heavenly ascent place in line, rather like a Los Angeles freeway at rush hour. Also in Ireland, there's a thing called soda bread, and traditionally it was made in a round shape with a cross cut into it across the top, dividing it into quarters. Now, that was very handy if you just wanted to pull it apart to eat it. But the idea of the cross was actually to scare away the devil. Oh, yes. Frankly, if Satan was coming for me, I really don't think holding up soda bread would do very much to stop him. Another Irish belief was that if the first lamb of the season happened to be black, well, that's hard luck. Somebody in the family is going belly up before the year's out. Where do people get these ideas? Yes, all right. A black lamb was born somewhere in Ireland sometime or other and somebody died. Therefore, the black lamb did it. Yeah, but how did they know it wasn't the 2 pigeons that flew past, or the cow with the 1 horn that walked by, or the dead sparrow lying at the back door? Why pin it on the lamb? Aha! I think the lamb was just the fall guy, a clear case of anti-lambism. Just round up the usual suspects. If it's a lamb, it did it. Yeah, you can You can see the logic of that. In Turkey, it is thought that to chew gum at night will result in its transforming into dead flesh. Though why, I don't really know. It just does. It just does. So if you're in Turkey, don't eat gum at night. A superstition found in several cultures concerns the nose as an indicator of impending doom, and depending on where it itches, well, that varies the degree to which you may suffer. Since if you get an itch on the outside of your nose, sorrow is on its way. But should the inside of your nose itch, oh, you are in deep trouble, because you are going to be cursed. The nose knows. Now the number 13. Oh yes, the number 13. Probably the most common of all superstitions worldwide. And in fact, it is officially classed as the most widely held superstition in the United States today. And the 13th day of any month is considered a bad luck day, especially if it's Friday. Friday the 13th. Oh, in that case, misfortune is just waiting for you around the corner. Unless you were born on Friday the 13th. Now, if you were, far from having misfortune haunt you to the grave, as you would expect, it is allegedly your lucky day. Figure that one out. In many cultures, getting married on any day of the week that falls under number 13 is highly discouraged. And there's a superstition that should 13 people sit down at a table to dine, one of them will die in the following year. That actually prompted the formation of the 13 Club to debunk it, where groups of 13 would have dinner and sit around for 12 months to see who'd die. Strangely enough, nobody did. Oh well. Why 13? Well, one suggestion was put forward by a Mr. Charles A. Platt, writing in 1925, that the reason 13 is considered unlucky is that a person can count from 1 to 12 with their 8 fingers, 2 thumbs, and 2 feet, but not beyond that. So the number 13 is unknown. Yes, so it thus becomes frightening and unlucky. I think his name should have been Pratt, not Platt. That idea is about as daft as the superstition itself, since it discounts the use of toes or other body parts in counting. You know, one's toes gives another 10, you get another 3 with the nose and ears. And I suppose counting all body parts, the intimate ones, like, well, it would give a man yet another 3, and a woman 2. Think about it. But surely sensible people today, people who know more of science and how the world works than was the case in ancient times, wouldn't actually take notice of such things. Well, yeah, they would. In Scotland, there is no gate number 13 in the airports. Instead, they have a gate 12B. Ah, well, no, that's the Scots. Maybe a wee dram of the old ways is still there, laddie. And a bit of the old whiskey, too. No. Now the Germans. Oh, yes, the sensible, down-to-earth Germans. They wouldn't have anything to do with such nonsense. Well, not quite, actually. In aircraft belonging to Lufthansa, the seats actually skip a row, going straight from 12 to 14. Das ist gut, ja? 9. That's how they think in Buxtehude. I think only a German will get that one. In 1995, Finland actually declared Friday the 13th to be their National Accident Day. Who has a National Accident Day? Like having accidents is something to be celebrated? It's National Accident Day. I think I'll throw myself down the stairs. Whee! Happy National Accident Day. And call an ambulance because I just had one. Who would celebrate that? No, they would. In various places, tall buildings don't have a 13th floor, and hotels and hospitals often have no room 13. Some streets don't have a house number 13. In Florence, in Italy, for example, the house between 12 and 14 is numbered 12 and a half. And in some forms of motorsport, there is no number 13 car. The Italian National Lottery doesn't have a number 13. And it is said that anyone with 13 letters in their name will have the devil's luck. And to prove that point, Theodore Bundy, Albert DeSavo, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, and Jack the Ripper all have 13 letters in their name. Aha, that proves it, doesn't it? Well, of course, there are probably thousands of mass murderers, rapists, evildoers of all kinds down through history who didn't, but that, of course, proves nothing. You just sort through them all until you find some who do, and that proves it. Yeah. As if to prove the point about number 13 and justify the still believed in superstition by getting God involved, the Bible tells us there were exactly 13 present at the Last Supper. One of the dinner guests, the disciples, betrayed Jesus Christ, setting the stage for the crucifixion, the resurrection, Christianity, and all that. However, since that meal was nothing more than the traditional Jewish Passover meal, at which all family members would be present, there would have been far more than 13 people at the table. Wives and children, even parents, if they were around, would have been there. But they aren't mentioned, you'd say. No, they wouldn't be. You see, it was a custom of the time to mention men, but not women. I mean, women obviously weren't important. They were the mere chattels, after all. You didn't mention if your pet cat happened to be there. Why would you mention a woman? I mean, come on. The men were important. So if 10 men and 20 women attended something or other, it would have been written down as 10 men attended. They were the important ones. Simple as that. Ask any rabbi, and they'll tell you what the Last Supper actually was. Everybody in Jerusalem, indeed, everybody in Palestine and Judea, not just Jesus and his disciples, were doing exactly the same thing on that night. Excuse me. The only special thing about it was that, well, they were doing it for the last time. They would not all be together for the next Passover. Other than that, everyone else was doing the same thing. To end, I'll mention something from Old Norse times, though it probably is a later addition to the original story in the form we have it. And this is that there were 12 gods assembled having fun with Balder, the beautiful god, when Loki arrived, making 13. And subsequently, oh dear, I seem to be having a bit of bad luck. I wonder what I did wrong. Subsequently, due to his trickery, Balder was killed, making 13 an unlucky number. To my mind, however, that sounds like a later Christian idea that was added to the original Norse story, since many Norse pagan ideas and stories were adapted to make them, more in line with Christian doctrine when they were eventually written down in the 13th century, as we see extensively in Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda. So, with that, we come to the end of this little look at superstitions. I use the word little advisedly, since there are hundreds, if not thousands, more of them around the world, some so gloriously insane in their wonderful stupidity that they beg a belief, which of course did nothing to stop people fervently believing in them. So, we must take all that with a pinch of salt. Oh, that's itself a superstition, isn't it? Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, you might like to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or just tell your friends how wonderful I am. Spread the word about this incredible, amazing channel. Modesty forbids me saying it myself, of course, however true it obviously is. Well, with that, I shall say goodbye for now, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed in the hope that you did indeed enjoy this video. Oh shit. That's another one, isn't it? Yes. Well, goodbye for now.